Welcome to the Disc Golf Doctor. I want to start out by introducing myself. My name is Peter Cram. I have my clinical doctorate in physical therapy and I'm board certified in orthopedics. As orthopedic physical therapists, we specialize in musculoskeletal dysfunction and rehabilitation. We're specialists in biomechanics. So from that background, I really decided I wanted to do this channel. Part of the background beyond that is that I started playing disc golf a couple years ago. I grew up playing a lot of Ultimate, and certain aspects really translated easily for me, and then other things really did not. And so for a while now, I've been studying a lot on the understanding of the biomechanics, proper form, and all the technical aspects of the sport. I've really delved into watching a lot of videos, a lot of practice, and trying to understand the mechanics behind everything. So while doing that process, I really realized that there were certain things that I could offer that I just couldn't find out there. And part of that is there are some great videos on form. Obviously, some pros differ a little bit here or there, but there's some basic form that is really I would say proper form that we can go over. I wanted to provide drills for people, and I think the thing that was really lacking was any understanding of training and injury prevention. There's so many muscles that we use while playing disc golf, and I really didn't see anything out there on how do you prepare for the season, how do you protect your shoulders or your back. You see so many of these pros, have periods of time in their careers where they have issues. Paul Macbeth had a back issue. Simon Lizotte had knee issues. Dave Philberg had shoulder issues as well. So all those guys have issues over time. Granted, part of that's the quantity of golf they're playing, but I realized that while going over some of the mechanics and understanding it from a really biomechanical standpoint, that some of the pros just don't have the terminology to understand or the words to convey the meaning behind what they're trying to say, that I thought I could offer something unique there and go through this with you guys. Okay, so in this first edition, what we want to start with is the foundation of any form, and that's the footwork. It's kind of a boring topic to discuss, but it's really where we need to start to have even an understanding of how do you throw consistently, how do you throw with power. So our setup really puts us in the position to be able to do that. Otherwise, that's never going to happen. So we're going to go to a video here. Okay, so we're going to look here, doing a basic 4-step X step. It's the best way to get in the right position for your throw, and that's essentially what we're focusing on. There's many things we can talk about here, but mainly taking the first step with the left foot, second step forward with the right foot. I'm going to end up stepping behind with my left foot, really starting to turn my hips, you can see. The last step is going to be forward with the right foot. I'm trying to get my hips turned partially away from my target, not all the way, and my shoulders pretty much perpendicular to my target. That gives you a nice reach back. A lot of the pros don't necessarily reach back every time all the way, but if you're really going for a long drive, it's pretty helpful to get the shoulders all the way turned. Okay, so there it is again at normal time. And you can see I'm reaching straight back away from my target. If you follow my toes, it's pointing right where I'm throwing and right in line with my arm. That's going to be really important. We'll talk about that in the future. But that's where you need to be able to throw straight, throw accurately. Okay, we got the left arm out of the way. Don't throw underneath your left arm. There's no way you're going to get as much power. Okay, get that left arm out of the way. You can see here from the front now. Just to serve as an example, I'm sure you guys have seen people do variations of this where they're kind of skipping forward there, right? And they're not clearing the hips. You can see my hips are square or are perpendicular to my target. You're not going to get any power out of that throw. I guarantee you're not going to throw it farther than someone who has decent form and can open up their hips a little bit. That's where your power is going to come from your hips, from your core, from your lower extremities. That's where, at some point we'll go into exercises on how to really set up your lower body and your core to help with your throw. Okay, other variations of the way people come up. I'm sure you've seen many other ways. Okay, so here's an example of a drill I talked about. I'm trying to give you some practical ideas to work on. I set up a golf club there, gives me a line. See how my feet were right in line with my target there? If I maybe for that tree ahead out in the open, if I wanted to fade a little bit to the left at the end. See, right in line, I'm letting go. Okay, trying to stay right in line, reaching back directly away from that tree, 180 degrees away. Okay, right there. So that gives you some basic things to practice as a drill. I think the things you really want to focus on is first just getting down the X step. So even that's a drill in and of itself. Can you just practice stepping over and over again and pausing like I did in one or two of those frames where I just stop there in the setup position, right? Or at the very, extended back position. You want to have your hips turned a little bit, your shoulders turned all the way, you're reaching straight back. That's really the key. We'll talk about it, more in the future. People oftentimes reach kind of across their body, and therefore you lose any direct line towards your target. You're going to be offline. So just practice that setup. If you can take the 4 steps, reach straight back and pause, and then redo that over and over again so you get used to the footwork so it's second nature. So you don't have to think about that. There's too many people who are thinking about those things when they go to throw. There's so many other things you want to have just as muscle memory at that point. So I think it was perfect drill just to line up the golf club and make sure your feet are lined up directly with your target, kind of right along that golf club, because that's where your disc is going to go. If you're reaching straight back, eventually we'll work on pulling straight through, but that's the perfect setup. Okay, so now that we've gone over some basic ideas with form and some simple drills to address it, I want to go over some exercise, okay? It kind of goes without saying, if you have any other health issues, medical issues, clear with your doctor before you're doing the exercises. Make sure you don't have pain with the exercises both during and after. That's very important. If you do, you may want to see a physical therapist who could give you something more specific to your individual case. These exercises are more oriented towards someone without any specific issues in the shoulder, hopefully to prevent some of the shoulder issues. We're going to work on 3 different exercises. The rotator cuff muscles do 3 different motions. They lift up the arm, they do external rotation of the shoulder, and they do internal rotation of the shoulder. I don't care if you can lift 200 pounds overhead. If you're not focusing on these muscles, you probably have fairly weak rotator cuff muscles. Muscles are very important for stabilizing the shoulder, particularly with dynamic motions that we do in disc golf. What we're going to start with is shoulder internal rotation. I want you to see if you can get a band. A lot of people just have them laying around at home. If not, you can go to a sporting goods place. I'm sure you can look it up on Amazon. Not too expensive. You can buy one of these. Some of them even have a handle on it. This one I just tied a loop onto. I'm going to stand with my body right in line with the band. I'm going to keep my elbow at the side. Some studies indicate that having the shoulder slightly away from the body had better muscle activation. You could take a little towel or pillow and put it by your side. Hug it in tight. And you're going to bring your hand in toward your stomach. The idea is I'm keeping my elbow right at the side, like I said. You're not letting it come forward like that. Really trying to avoid having the shoulders turn. Those are the 2 mistakes people tend to make. Keeping my elbow right there, coming back and forth, nice and controlled. Coming all the way in, all the way out. Now I'm going to work on the opposite motion. I'm going to still keep that elbow by the side. Start with my hand in towards my stomach. I'm going to rotate out this time. You don't need to go too far beyond having that forearm straight ahead of you. Most of the time, if people go too far beyond that, they start bringing the elbow away from the side, cheating in one way or another. Same idea in that I'm trying not to turn my shoulders either. So that's 2 of the motions. The next motion, I'm going to start with the arms at my side. I have a light weight here. I'm going to step, bring my arms up like so. Trying to get my upper arms about parallel with the ground, keeping my elbows at 90-degree angles. The mistakes people tend to make, letting the elbows flare out and the forearms come in, or arching the back as I come up. I want to keep my stomach muscles engaged. I'm coming up like that, getting my upper arms about parallel with the ground. You could go higher, but that should be high enough for our purposes for now. Okay, so what I want you to work on is endurance. These muscles are not there for strength. They're there for stability of the shoulder. Because lots of people are very strong and they just don't have good stability in the shoulder. They don't have strong rotator cuff muscles. You hear that term all the time. Those are the muscles that stabilize your shoulder as you're doing these dynamic, powerful movements in disc golf. Okay, so this is one of the best ways to stabilize and protect your shoulder. You really want to focus on doing a high number of sets and reps, a high volume. That's really going to work on endurance. So I would try to build up to doing 3 sets of 15 or 20. Start out with a lower amount of weight. If you can easily do 3 sets of 15 or 20, then at that point increase the amount of resistance, whether it's the amount of weight or the amount of tension in the band that you're using. Thanks for joining us on the first episode of the Disc Golf Doctor. I hope you gained some ideas when it comes to form, some drills to implement it, and some good exercises to start preparing your shoulder for the upcoming season. My goal is to create a comprehensive guide on basic form when it comes to disc golf and really provide people with exercises to prevent injury and prepare their body for disc golf. My goal is to put out a video once a week. We'll see if we can keep to that. Take care.